I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 130. This one's with Abigail Swabe, and we talk about her path to art and design. She's a young designer that I've met through a monthly illustrators group. Very talented. Want to hear what it was like for a younger person nowadays. If you'd like to find out more information about Abigail, give her a follow on Instagram. It's Abigail Swabe Design. ABIGAILSWABEDESIGN. She's got stickers, all kinds of hand lettering stuff. It's great to see. And she's got a link tree there with outbound links to Etsy stores and all that such. But yeah, give her a follow, and I appreciate her for being on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. But this is about your journey.
No pressure.
No pressure. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Monroe County, Madisonville. It's about an hour away towards Chattanooga.
Yeah. So my friend Greg is from there, and him and his wife live there still in Madisonville.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be too young to know. There was a sheriff that was there forever, and it was our friends Charlie and Larry's dad. But I think he resigned in the 90s, so...
Oh, yeah, that's a bit before me. Well...
I think he was one that everyone knew.
Sure. Everybody knows everybody in Madisonville. In Monroe County. My dad certainly does.
Let's see. What can I pull? Bert's?
Yes.
Is Bert still around?
Yes. Love Bert's.
Do you know the story behind Bert's?
Something, it used to be like a chain pizza place. And then... like the guy Bert bought it and turned it into his own. And I've seen the pictures. It used to be a farmhouse, and they've just turned it into a restaurant.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Remember what the restaurant was downtown? Donna's?
Mm-hmm. That's still there. They do breakfast. They're in an old bank.
You didn't expect this to happen, did you?
Let's quiz you on Madisonville
Bert's
things.
And Donna's.
Yeah, it's still there. There's a new Italian. Well, it's not new. There's the patio, which is Italian now. It's like down. It's on the same block as Donna's.
Okay.
So those are like the big three. There's Henry's. I think it's Henry's Sub Shop. They do sandwiches. That's about it. That's about it.
So when we were going, Greg and I went to college together. He's also a graphic designer.
Yeah.
I would go down sometime. He doesn't care. I was about to tell he would take his laundry to his mom every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, or his mom would come up and visit and go to Courtyard. We'd go to RJ's Courtyard on Alcoa Highway.
Okay.
And have lunch with his grandmother and his mom, and she would pick up his laundry. Or he would take his laundry down there, and there were a couple of times where I went with him. And that's back when they were making 411 5 lanes.
Oh, okay.
So this was back when it was still just 2 lanes.
Yeah.
For most of the way down. So I got to see
Wow.
the construction of all of that. And it's funny because so I think this coming February, I will, because he doesn't really do parties anymore, I will have watched the Super Bowl with Greg 25 years in a row. We have not missed a Super Bowl.
That's awesome.
And I think the last 2 years I've been the only one 2020 during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was pre-pandemic because that was March 13th. So 2021, I went down there. I was the only one down there. We all remained masked.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, we got to keep the streak alive.
Sure.
And then last year he was like, I'm kind of done with parties, but if you want to come down to keep the streak alive, let's do this. So I assume it's going to be the same this time.
Yeah.
And it's weird seeing how much it has grown.
It's grown a lot. Every time I only visit on the weekends now to just like my parents and my sister. But I am surprised. Like I'll be driving through and I'll be like, oh, that's new. They have a Scooter's Coffee now in Sweetwater, which
is that a chain?
I have no idea. But everyone's very excited that it's there.
Oh yeah, something's there. I remember that at that point when I started going down there, which would have been 97, 98. I think the Walmart wasn't very old at that point.
The new Walmart? Yeah.
I think it was.
I remember I have very few memories of like the old Walmart next to the Ingalls, and then they built the brand new Walmart when I was very, very little.
Yeah, we might have to keep an eye out on these. I have some new. Okay, there's one. They should be able to pass your car. This is always interesting from a listener's perspective, getting commentary on what's happening actually
what's happening in the real world.
Because there's a U-Haul truck 2 doors down. That there's plenty of room for them to get by.
Yeah, I can move if I need to.
It's fine. There's a street light out on this road, so that's why I didn't have you park in the carport because it's dark as night on this side. I was like, you can just park out front. There's a street light and the front porch light should be good enough. And I probably could ask my neighbor across the street, George. It's like, can she just park in your driveway? And he would probably make fun of me. Why can't she park in your driveway? Because you have a street light, George.
Yeah.
You're super important. Oh, yeah. During the pandemic, when I would record on Zoom, I recorded looking out that window. And it was when I was working for myself. Mm-hmm. And I watch random people walk down my street in the middle of the day. It's on a dead end. So all of a sudden, I would be like a dog and go,
yeah.
hold on, I gotta go check this shit out. And I would grab a samurai sword, and I would not grab it. I would just stare out the window like, what's happening?
Yeah, who's this person?
Who is this person on my street?
Yeah.
Okay, Madisonville. Mm-hmm. So did you go to... Shoot, it used to be Sequoia. Is it now Madisonville High?
Nope, still Sequoia.
Okay. Then maybe it was something else before that. I thought maybe not.
It's been Sequoia
or maybe they changed their
for a while.
Mascot.
Oh, did
I think it was maybe right before Greg went to school. There were 2 schools and they merged into one massive school that was Sequoia.
Yeah. So it's Madisonville and Vonore combined into Sequoia High School.
I've also learned to not go 1 mile over the speed limit when driving through Vonore.
Oh no. Oh no.
And what's the other one? What's the one south of Madisonville? Is it Athens? That Greg's cousin...
I think so.
Greg's getting a lot of shout-outs on this one. His cousin got pulled over for doing 1 mile over the speed limit.
Oh, yeah. That's probably Athens.
Yeah.
As soon as you cross like into McMinn County, there's speed traps everywhere.
Yeah, there's one of my uncles, air quotes. He was going to Chattanooga all the way down Kingston Pike, and he crossed the county line and immediately got pulled over. And he was like, I'm not kidding. It went from 55 to 35, and there wasn't good signage.
Yeah.
And he was like, and there were 3 cop cars sitting right there, so they knew what they were doing. And he went to pay his ticket. Like a week later, he was like, I'm not mailing them. I'm going to fight this or whatever he did. And he drove down there, and he's like, nobody was there because they were all out pulling people over.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, so I had to...
There's one section, I think it's near like the Mayfield's factory where it goes from like 45 to 25 to 30 back up to 45, like in
Maybe
in
that
the
was
span
it.
of a mile. Yeah.
Maybe that was it. Okay. Good Lord. I'm fighting my neck hurting right now.
Uh-oh.
Don't bend over. Just talk up if you got to.
you
Okay.
go.
Madisonville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
What did your folks do for a living?
My dad works in Athens, and my mom works at the county courthouse in the clerk's office.
Okay.
Or register of deeds. Sorry.
Okay. What does your dad do?
He works at Johnson Controls. I think it's Johnson Controls.
Okay.
They make car seats for somebody.
So, when you were growing up, it's you and your sister? Or
I have a younger sister. Yeah.
Okay. Were you always into art as a kid?
Oh yeah. Ever since I was little, I was always doodling, and I remember like Out of the Box was the greatest thing ever. And I watched Zoom as a kid and like would get out every art supply I owned so I could do the crafts along with them on TV. And
what is Out of the Box?
it's a TV show on Disney, on PBS, or it used to be. And it was like the hosts took all these cardboard boxes and built them into like a clubhouse. And then you went inside the cardboard boxes and they just did arts and crafts.
Man, I'm guessing way past my time.
That's going to be a deep pull, but they had the best like theme song.
Okay. If I were a better podcaster, I would underlay it right here. And okay, so always into arts and crafts. Were your parents into art at all, or was it something just...
Not really. When I was little, I was like, nobody in my family does art. This is very weird. And I'd have people comment to me that I was just this creative, artistic spirit that came out of, where did this come from? But I think my dad is more artistic than he lets on, because he loves tinkering and making... he's into like cars. He's always like welding things together, and he'd make little figurines out of like old wrenches. And he like restored an entire like Ford tractor with my papa one time. So I'm like, that takes skill and talent and creativity. Yeah. So I think it's there. I think I was just the first one to like make it my career, I guess.
Is your sister, what does she do?
She's in school still, so she's at college. So she's...
Young people with your ticky talks and your there was a phrase today that I used. It was like, you young people with your where I work, there are a bunch of 22 to 24 year olds.
Yeah.
So every once in a while I'd be like, is this a thing? I was like, I think I'm in the know, but I also feel like I'm that now I'm on blanket Steve Buscemi meme where he's... Have you seen that? Do you know who Steve Buscemi is? The actor? I don't
think so.
There's a meme. It was on like 30 Rock or something where he looks very old. Okay. And he's wearing like a backwards baseball cap, carrying a... Oh,
yes.
And he's like, how are you doing today, fellow kids?
Yes, I know what you're talking
That's
about.
how I feel some of the time. Okay, so what is she studying in school?
She's studying to be an accountant. So she's in accounting.
Yes. She's more on track with your mom and dad.
Oh, yeah. She's... Yeah.
So were there art programs in school?
There was like, we always had art classes. And that was always my favorite thing. And I like bonded with my art teachers a lot. So they would give me like extra projects to do. Okay. There was never really like an art focused program to go to. There were some summer camps that were like art camp, and you did theater and music and painting and all of that. So I did that, but nothing really, I don't know, like art focused until high school, when I was able to take like some more advanced art classes. And I was on yearbook in school, and ended up being editor my senior year. And that's when like the graphic design part of things really took off for me, because I had several encouraging teachers who were like, you have a real skill for this. Have you ever thought about graphic design? And I was like, what's that? And then I researched it and was like, oh yeah, definitely. The big thing was graphic design to me looked like a field that I could make money in, hopefully, and not be a starving artist, which was my mom's fear and still is. She's like, you can study whatever you want in college, just please don't be a starving artist. Just have a plan to make money.
Just make money.
And I was like, okay.
That's what I go back and talk to kids a lot now, and that's what I tell them. I was like, you can make money making art. It's like, but you know, graphic design is something that you can, well, air quotes around making money.
Yeah.
Because I will make fun of our university here that their salary band right now is the same salary band as it was in like 1994,
Ooh.
which
Yeah.
is very painful.
Yeah.
Considering how much Taco Bell is paying now. Like, you make more money slinging tacos than you can working at our major university here.
Yeah.
I will slander them. I like slandering them. It's fun. Okay. So that what about like comic books? Like, you were actually in an age where comic books were
Yeah.
a little harder to come by.
I never really I've gotten into comics recently, like very, very recently, but in high school, it wasn't a big thing on my radar. I think mostly because it still wasn't really cool to like nerdy things. I was a huge reader. I read like all the time. So I love reading, and I loved, I don't know. I loved yearbook. Once I like found the internet, once I found Pinterest and stuff in high school, that's when I started like finding the niches of artwork.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, were any of the books you were reading, were they like fantasy books that kind of help encourage your creativity or imagination?
Yeah, definitely. I read, let me think. I really loved like historical retellings. There's this book called Ophelia, and it was like the plot of Hamlet, but from Ophelia's point of view.
Okay.
And I loved that. That like blew my mind that you could have this different perspective on this classic story. And I read a lot of like historical fantasy was my favorite genre. And that evolved into like murder mysteries, like historical murder. I am a Sherlock Holmes' #1 fan, and I will proclaim it now.
How dare you? I am. Hold on. Let me. God, since I feel like Batman where I can't turn my freaking neck. Where is it? Oh, they're down there. They're holding up a shelf. No, they're not holding up a shelf. I have a massive record collection.
Okay.
So records are very heavy. So all of my Sherlock Holmes, or most of my Sherlock Holmes books, are like supporting the record.
Yes, I understand.
Records. And so I've read almost every. I've read all the Sherlock Holmes stuff, of course, but I've read all the other things. A lot of the other things.
Yeah.
Not all of them, because there's so many.
There's so many.
But I've read a lot. There was a great one, I think came out, I don't know if it came out when I was in high school, but I read the paperback called Sherlock Holmes Through Time and Space.
Oh.
And it was like #1 fan over there.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was like science fiction versions of Sherlock Holmes. Like Ray Bradbury did a story. And it was same thing. It was a bunch of short stories. Yeah. So some of them were amazing. Some of them were like, this is terrible.
So that's like Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century? Was that the TV show?
I don't know that. I see that.
Okay, #1 fan.
Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century.
Yeah, it's a cartoon, and Watson's a robot, and it's great.
Okay. So so I may be giving you homework.
Okay.
So is Benedict Cumberbatch your guy? Is he your favorite Sherlock?
I can't pick between my children. I love him. I love Jeremy Brett. He is like he was so good. But I also really, really love Basil Rathbones in the 1930 films.
You haven't mentioned my guy yet, so I'm.
Oh no!
Have you ever seen The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes from the 70s?
Yes.
So Billy Wilder. Do you know Billy Wilder? Okay. So he directed that. That was one of his final films. Yeah. I think that may be one of the best translations of Sherlock to screen.
I have seen that one because I do remember watching that one, but it's been a minute.
It's got, I don't know how to say this, but I always grew up calling it the Playboy filter, to where they would rub Vaseline on the lens so everything would be a little bit soft. Yeah. And that's how that thing looks. But that dude, like, just the Watson is great because he's not in the old ones. Watson was always stupid. Yes, and I didn't like
very
that.
Bumbling.
Whereas in this one, he's not stupid, but he's not the modern Sherlock,
Right.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah.
He's not. He's actually more of like Martin Freeman season 4, because he starts to get a little goofy.
Yeah.
As the series wears on, he's a little bit more of that.
I try not to think about season 4. That was just upsetting.
I'm trying to even remember. I see, because I've watched them all so many times.
I'm gonna look up Private Life. I'm sure I've seen it, but one of my favorite has to be The Hound of the Baskervilles, with
Basil.
Yeah, with Basil Rathbone, because there's like a seance in it, and it's like watching it now, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. Watching this seance and the like the old camera techniques, I'm just like, this is great.
Somewhere around here, I have a bunch of those on VHS, because they would sell like a box set.
Yeah.
At like Walden Books, and it was on sale, and I bought it for like $20, and I watched them all. But I think I made it through 2 of them. I was like, I can't take this. It's so, because he was such a dickhead.
Yeah,
He is such a jerk. Whereas I feel like with Private Life or even Benedict Cumberbatch, I wanted to start doing the funny things that I've heard. Benedictine,
Cucumber,
creamsicle,
yeah,
whatever. That they both still had were still charming.
Yeah.
Whereas Basil Rathbone was just like...
He was vicious.
He was ruthless. Yeah. Okay. So Sherlock Holmes. Okay. Yeah. It's... The Benedict Cumberbatch... When they got into the stuff with Mary, it was just kinda...
I think they tried to like out-engineer themselves or something.
Yeah.
Like they tried to be clever. Then they're like, they'll be clever on top of clever, and then it just sort of spiraled out of control.
I will say the way they did The Fall from Reichenbach.
Oh, it was so good.
Great.
It was so good.
I just remember watching it happen going, oh, God, now I'm going to have to wait like 2 years to figure out.
I know.
I was like, that was so
Okay.
Here we go.
Picture this. It's the end of season 2, right? Yeah. We've seen The Fall. We don't know what's happening. We're waiting in suspense. 2014, I go on a January J term trip for my college. I went to Maribel College, and we took a trip to the UK in January. The exact same time they are airing season 3.
Okay.
So I literally got to go to London and go to the Sherlock Holmes Museum, and then that night watch the brand new series in my hotel room.
That's amazing.
I cried. I'm trying
to remember, did they air it? They aired it over there before they aired it here. Mm-hmm. I know they did that at least for the first 2 seasons. I think later on they may have started... I think maybe season 3 they started, or maybe the winter special they did concurrently on PBS.
Yes.
Because I have friends that work at PBS, and they were like, we're all going to get together and watch this.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
I went to theaters and watched the Christmas special.
See, that's amazing.
It was so cool.
Well, so one of mine like that is not as cool. I read an inordinate amount of comic books. Mm-hmm. I grew up reading comic books. And I actually bought issue 1 of Walking Dead.
Okay.
I still have it. It's worth a lot of money. And I bought it for like $1.25.
Yeah. And
I handed it to a buddy of mine, and I was like, just shut up and buy this. And he was like, okay. And Greg. Oh, God, Greg.
Yeah.
Full circle. He sold his collection for a lot of money. He got it graded and all. And he's like,
that's awesome.
Man, I got to thank you for that. It's like, you can thank me by paying me. Or buy me a nice bottle of booze or something. But I was in San Francisco for the first time when The Walking Dead premiered. And they showed it, and then they repeated it. And I'm not kidding. I was like, I have to be back to my hotel room to watch The Walking Dead premiere tonight. I was so
important.
Excited. I was like, this is so dumb. I'm in this foreign town, or not foreign town, but foreign to me.
Sure.
Town, and I'm sitting here like, no, I got to watch The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I got to go watch it.
Yeah. It was wild. It was very wild. Okay. Reading, not really into comic books, cartoons, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you were in high school, were you able to try a bunch of different styles, or was it to kind of find what you like more?
A little bit.
Or media?
Yeah. A little bit. I don't know. I remember doing a lot more in college because it felt like the world opened up in college because there's lots of new things happening. But I do remember had my first touch of graphic design in high school doing yearbook, and that was a lot of fun. And I remember in art class, we did like pen and ink techniques I'd never done before, and like inking techniques and a little bit of printmaking. Gosh,
And
I'm
that
just
was
trying
in
to think.
college, not in high school.
So in high school, I took some more advanced classes. That's when I got my
okay.
first touch of things. But I
Okay.
do remember in college, I took a painting class for the first time. So I
Okay.
got to learn like all of the ins and outs of oil painting and did figure drawing for the first time. And that was incredible to me. I loved going to figure drawing classes. And what else? Did more majored in graphic design, so went to all of those classes. That was great. I loved art history. All of my art history classes were fantastic. I had great professors. Mark Hall and Carl Gombert were just
Carl Gombert.
incredible professors.
He's a hoot.
I love him. He's such a cool human being. I'm just so happy to know him.
And it's weird, like when we were at Dogwood Arts and seeing that art, I was so used to just seeing like, oh my God, I'm going to have to get up and look around. I was so used to seeing like his, where he'd take the letterpress blocks and just make patterns. So to see some of that fine painting and stuff is like, whoa, where did this come from, man?
Incredible. He would bring them to class and like we work on them sometimes in class. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah. I met him. There was like a craft festival on Emery Place near Crafty Bastard. And he was set up there. And I was going there to see my Sarah and Brian, who are Stripe Light. Going to see them. And then I saw his stuff. And I think I still have a couple pieces of his. And he and I just stood there and got to talking. And I think the next time I saw him was like, was at a show, was at a concert.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, man. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, sorry. I met you like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
You're Carl. And he was like, I am Carl. Like, it was just funny.
Yes, it's me.
It was just funny. He was like, and he's like, who are you? I was like, Joe. I was like, dude, I do not expect you. And I was president of AIGA at that point. I think when I said that, he was like, oh, yeah. Okay. I remember you. I won't go, really, it's not the 6'7" bald bearded. It's when I say AIGA. That's when you remember. Okay, dude. It was just funny.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Yeah.
He was a very nice guy. And every time I've run into him since, he always remembers me. Very nice guy. Okay. What made you choose Maryville College?
Two things. One was I wanted to get, well, it was a couple of things. I remember looking at a couple different places, UT and Maryville College and a school in Nashville, but there's
Was the school in Nashville Nosai College of Art and Design?
Yeah.
They recruited me very heavily in high school, and then I saw how much it cost to go, and it was bonkers.
Yeah.
And,
well,
and it wasn't in Nashville at that point. It was like if you go halfway between Nashville and Memphis and go an hour north.
Oh.
In some smaller town, like Goodlettsville or something like that. So I
Never
looked
heard
it
of
up
it.
recently trying to remember what the name was. And I was like, it's in Nashville? I could have gone to crap. Like, okay.
Yeah, it's in Nashville. A lot of it was how close it was. Being from like a small town, moving far away was very scary to me at the time. So I was like, let's stick somewhere close. And Maryville College was close. And then they had just started a graphic design major program. So I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. So I know I'll get good education. And that was the big thing. I was like, UT feels very intimidating to me, but I know Maryville has like this program. This is what I want. And I know a lot of people I'm going to high school with aren't going to Maryville. And that was also a plus because I was like, I've known the same 20 people my whole life. Let's meet some new people.
Okay. Stupid question. Can you live on campus at Maryville? Okay.
Yeah, I've lived on campus all 4 years. They've got like freshman dorms, and then they've got different styles of dorms.
Okay.
There.
I know very little. And it's funny because I think two friends of mine work at Maryville College, both in like recruiting kids to go there, and I still don't know jack about
Don't know
it.
about it. Yeah,
Still
it's
don't
very,
know jack
very
about
small.
it.
I think the total was like 1,000 students when I went,
Holy crap.
which is pretty small.
So
I think.
my graduating class, so I went to Fulton. I can't go one podcast without mentioning Fulton. My graduating class was somewhere between 103 and 108 kids. But the freshman class that my senior year was 1,200 kids.
Oh wow.
That's why that blows my mind. I'm
Yeah.
like, Oh, I assumed Maryville College would be like 7,000 to 8,000 kids.
When I went, it was like, I think 1,300 was the total student population. There were 200-ish people in my graduating class, which was which was the same size as my high school. So I was like, that's fine.
How many kids were in the design program?
20-ish, 20,
Okay.
30-ish. Yeah. We all fit in like one classroom.
Okay. And did you have like 20 people that you essentially were in every class with all 4 years?
Pretty much, yeah. Especially once we got into like the more advanced classes, like my junior and senior year, all my classes were with the same people. There was like the graphic design students, and then there was like the art majors in general. So
Gotcha.
I took a lot of like history classes and other art, painting and whatever with the other art students, and all my graphic design classes were the same.
Okay.
Same people.
Okay. I'm gonna go backwards a second.
Okay.
Do you remember the first piece or artist that made you kind of stand up and take notice? The first thing you saw.
I have a couple different answers. I remember being in like middle school and learning about Mary Cassatt for the first time.
Okay.
And that was sort of mind blowing to me because up until that point, I'd only heard about like male painters like Van Gogh and Da Vinci and all those famous people. But I remember learning about Mary Cassatt and her like figures of mothers and their kids. And I just like fell in love. I was just like, wow, this is incredible. So that's a moment in time for me learning about that. And then, I'm not sure because it feels like lots of things. I love Vincent van Gogh. Like I remember learning about him and all of his artwork. And that was just like, I get it. I was like, yes.
Have you seen the film Loving Vincent?
I haven't. I've seen clips, but I've not seen the whole film yet.
I saw it at Downtown West and just sat there at the end trying not to lose it.
Yeah.
Like pulling hairs out of my leg. Like, don't cry, stuff it all in, you bastard. Like it is so, the film is very good. What they did with it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because
they painted like each thing
every
by
frame,
hand, right? Yeah.
Every frame. They didn't add to it. They painted. There is one painting for every frame of that film. And the story is interesting, but it's that feat. And they end in this very like emotional way.
Yeah.
And then they cut to showing you can watch the end credits online. Mm-hmm. And it shows the people who posed for the rotoscoping.
Okay.
And then his painting of that person that they pulled that style or their clothes from, and they play this song over it. There's this old God, now I'm gonna blank on his name, Don McLean song called Vincent. Mm-hmm. It's very weird. So the Don McLean song is called Vincent, and then this woman Leanne LeHavis covered it, and it's called Starry Starry Night. I was like, but the original's called Vincent.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful cover. And sitting there watching it and just being like, holy, like it fried my brain.
Wow.
Like it fried to see it on the big screen. It was amazing. It was amazing.
I did go, me and a friend went to the immersive Van Gogh experience in Nashville.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Okay.
Because it was like a short version, but it just showed like his paintings blown up and you're like surrounded by it. And the music was wonderful.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I've heard negative things about that. Like what the people do who go in and do that.
Yeah.
Like how they take it over, what they ask of artists in that area. So I've seen that it's coming to Knoxville, and I'm just like, don't screw with my city. I will fight you, and I will run you out on a rail if you mess with my town. Because it was a friend who lived in a different town when it came to them. Mm-hmm. I think it was the space they were in, they didn't take good care of, and they were supposed to like fix it up for people to use it afterwards, and they didn't. And then they just kind of took all the money and left. And they got a bunch of artists to do things and then didn't pay it. Like there was some sketchy stuff. Now that only happened in one town, and I don't know. Maybe it is better. Yeah. But I just keep that in mind when I see that's coming here. I'm like, all right, I will fight you all. Like, don't mess with my people.
Like that, yeah. I didn't read anything about that for the Nashville one. And me and my friend didn't like go in with high expectations. We just like went in and watched it. I really enjoyed it.
I think Biltmore State is doing something like that. I don't know if it's Van Gogh. I think it may be somebody else.
I've seen ads for an Impressionist one.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that one's. I don't know where that one is.
Until you can do a Piet Mondrian immersive. Thank you for understanding that reference. Like, Piet Mondrian. Oh, God. Anybody listening, if you don't know who Piet Mondrian is, Google him, and you'll get the joke. Because it would just be... It would be a blank wall. It would essentially be a blank wall. Okay. So, who was it? Mary
Cassatt.
Mary Cassatt. Mm-hmm. But Van Gogh, too. Mm-hmm. So your degree is in graphic design.
Yep.
So would you consider yourself, because I think How I Met You was more of an illustration background. So do you consider yourself more of an illustrator or a designer?
Probably more of a designer, because I'm just doing that more. I just simplify it and just say I'm like an artist or a maker, because I have such a wide range of interests. It's hard. I don't feel like saying I'm an illustrator covers everything that I do, or saying I'm just a graphic designer doesn't cover like everything, because I really love, like, I just started working on like bookbinding, like I'm making little like sketchbooks, and that's been super fun. So I'm like, how does that fall into anything? I don't know.
I finally figured out like 3 years ago, I was like, if it's creative or it's digital, I probably do it.
Yeah.
So that's what I've just started telling people. If it's creative or digital, I probably have done it or am able to do it.
Yeah.
Except for app development. App development seems really screwy.
No, thank you. I remember taking like web design.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
With Squarespace now and all is fine.
Yeah.
Like, I used to hate on Squarespace because you don't own that content once it's like, if Squarespace went away tomorrow, you'd be screwed.
Right.
But the people telling me that were people who work for WordPress. I was like, well, if WordPress went away tomorrow, you'd be screwed. It's not exactly. It's not like that is. So the fact that Squarespace is still around, I was like, it's fine.
It's fine. That and Wix has gotten a lot better since, because I remember using it several years ago and it sucked, and now it's like very well done now.
What is your website built on?
I don't have a website.
You and Esther.
I know.
I'm going to yell at the
I'm a failure.
Yeah. Esther, she sent me to her website for something, and it was like estersitver.wix.com. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
We got to fix this, man. She's like, well, I don't have money for it. I was like, okay, that's good for now, but I'm going to fuss at you about this.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to circle back around and fuss at you. So I'm probably going to circle right back around and fuss at you about
That's
this.
fine.
Yeah.
It's on I have a to-do list to be, and it's on there. I've been looking at like Shopify, so I can sort of combine like my Etsy and Shopify. And I've heard good things about that. It's just a matter of like taking the time to.
Yeah. It's not cheap anymore. That's what sucks.
Yeah.
Because it used to be when I started out, you could get you could buy your domain and get hosting for a year from GoDaddy, and it would be like $55.
Yeah.
A year. And that was awesome. And then I looked into something recently and I was like, wait, what? This is how much?
Yeah.
Like,
it's like $75 just for a domain.
Yeah. Oh, one of my domains popped up and it renewed and it was like $54. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I feel like if you buy a domain for $9.99 a month, it should remain. That's the contract you made with them.
Yeah.
I hate now that they're doing this different tiered pricing and stuff, to where I own like 50-something domains. I was like, I've got to start giving up some of these domains. And I think some of them no one would ever get. And I'm not going to mention those here because someone will get those. But they're phrases that only I know.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows. But okay. Creative force. That's what you call yourself. I'm a creative force. Okay, so you have a day gig now, but do you still have time for self-work?
I do, yeah.
Do they encourage that?
Absolutely. I remember, which is a strange and wonderful feeling, being encouraged to do art by your coworkers. I feel like I have more time and energy now to make art than I've ever had being in this creative job where they understand like how artists work and how they should be supported because that's what they do.
Right.
So I feel like I have more, I don't know. I feel like I have more time to do it now.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of me. I've not like this is a relatively new. I just started this job this year, so I've been in it since March. So I'm still trying to get over all my mental.
Although you started right in the thick of it, right when everything was happening there. Good Lord, because they were busy season.
I started the week of event season starting.
But then again, how much they've grown now, it's always busy.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I
now
loved it.
you're prepping for next year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. I love every second of it. And I'm still in my brain trying to adjust to this like good space that I'm in. Because before it wasn't that they discouraged it. It was just like I was so mentally drained from the job I had before that I didn't have any room to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I let a lot of things like fall to the wayside. And I remember just coming home from work and just like zoning out in front of the TV because I had no brain space left for anything. And now I'm like, oh, I have ideas and I have this and I can do this and I can do this. But I'm in the habit of like going home and doing nothing. So I'm trying to like retrain myself to get back to doing what I love, doing like art things. And I've been going like this year, I've done more markets and designing more things and working on more personal projects. So I'm getting there.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
I feel like I rambled for a bit.
What is the name of the show? It's Ramble Man. It's totally fine.
Perfect.
And you're not even close to Diane's 3 hours, so you're doing good. Is there a media you prefer when creating your own work?
Right now I'm really into like digital drawing. I really like drawing on my iPad. Mostly because it's like super easy to try out different looks and I can like erase things if I don't like it.
And what is the app that you all talk about that I always forget the name of?
Procreate.
Okay, there it is.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right, this is what I'm doing most of my stuff on now. I've recently, like I mentioned, getting into bookbinding. So I've been researching like different techniques and making like little mini sketchbooks for myself. I really enjoy just like pen doodles, like just drawing with a pen.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun. I haven't tried anything new. Those are the things I'm working on right now.
I will say I didn't do Inktober this year because I've been tired of. Oh God.
I just didn't.
I hope, did you do Inktober?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Because I see, and I'm going to pre-apologize for anybody listening, because there are people that I follow and there are people that I know that do this. I hate seeing how complicated it is now.
It's very complicated.
When I'm seeing people building out full worlds and like Procreate, and I was like, it's called Inktober, you dum-dums. Like, the whole point was to be putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
And you're not doing that anymore. I was like, and that I think that kind of frustrated me this year.
Yeah.
To where a friend of mine told me, it was too late last year when she told me about it, but there's some kind of art prompts in December. And I was like, I think I'm going to do that instead.
Yeah.
And I failed to do my letters this year for the first time since I've started doing those. I did one.
Yeah.
And then was just so overwhelmed with everything that I didn't do anymore. So every month I get a reminder that's like, is this the month you're going to finish those letters? And I finally just pushed it to next year. It's like, I'm going to do it next year when it happens.
It's like, Well, I think I remember doing Inktober and I've done a full month before and it was very exhausting for me to like sit down every day and do that. And I don't think my brain quite works that way because I love to plan things for a very long time in advance. Yeah. And I remember I love watching like artists on YouTube, like just drawing and making stuff. And there's one I follow called Fairy Little Peach. She's in Australia. And she like created her own like Peachtober prompts. And they're like,
I saw that.
Yeah. And they're just super fun, like rocket, steam, planet, like I don't know, like simpler prompts. Yeah. So I did her prompt list last year and had a lot of fun. And she focuses more on like, just do something every day. Doesn't have to be pen and ink. Doesn't have to be whatever. It can be whatever you want. Just do like something every day. And then that, I was like, this feels more approachable to me. This year, I'm like, I'm just too tired.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with this new job, I am not a morning person and I have to get up early every morning.
Yeah.
So every night I come home, I'm like, can I just keep watching Fargo
Yeah.
and not have
Yeah.
to do anything? And I've got project list on me right now that 2 of them I'm going to have to text the people and be like, I swear to God, I'm going to get to yours. Both of them are like no real due date.
Right.
One of them's a website, one of them's a house illustration. Both of them be like, I swear I'll get to yours. I'm just very tired right now.
It's exhausting
And now
working.
it's football season.
Oh.
So now all my Saturdays are gone. So Sundays is literally laid out on this couch like, I don't even want to watch a TV show. I'll just watch
You just gotta
YouTube.
sleep for a minute.
Yeah, I'm just going to sleep for a minute. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So when it comes to like bookbinding and learning a new trade like that, you mentioned YouTube. Have you ever thought about doing something more immersive like an Aramont or Pinland?
I've thought about it. I need to look into it more. Last time I looked at Aramont classes, they were like a little bit out of my price range. They were fairly expensive for their like.
Depends on how immersive, like, and if you're going to stay there.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think I would like to. I don't know. I think I would. I get nervous.
Okay, I was going to say,
That
do you
way.
like learning more on your own, or would you like more to get back to like the communal aspect of learning amongst others?
Yeah. I think I would if it was like a smaller group. I get really nervous because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I feel like if I can't get it right the first time, I just shouldn't do it. So I like to practice at home by myself, and then I can show up to a class and be like, see, I know what I'm doing, and which is probably not the best approach, but that's how my brain works.
I can tell you haven't got to that point in the Diane interview where I was talking about I had this idea in my head that was like, okay, take watercolors and then just paint on a piece of paper and then do another layer of color, do whatever. And then when you feel good, stop and then figure out what that looks like and then draw in pen over the top of that. Like if it looks like a dog, if it looks like clouds, whatever it looks like, just draw over the top of that. And I did the first one. I did the color base and all that. And I went to make the first mark, and I screwed up the line because I didn't lay a pencil down or anything because I never do. I always just like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to just go ahead.
Yeah.
And I screwed it up. I wadded it up, threw it away. I was like, it's not for me. I ain't got this kind of time.
Can't do it.
I
Not
can't
doing it.
Not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to see more of in art or design or creativity? Or
like,
creative field?
Like for me, or just like in the world?
In the world. Or for you. Twofold.
I would love to see more, and I think Knoxville's doing this, just have more classes or workshops or have more access to different mediums.
Okay.
I don't know. I was thinking about, because I found somebody in Scotland that did risograph prints, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. What's a risograph? And then so I was researching that and learning about that, and I was like, well, this is beautiful and amazing. And then I was like, but how in the world do I get access to that? And then I think literally this week I saw that Sarah Shabaro is hosting risograph workshops. So I will be signing up for that as soon as the next one's available. But I would love to see more things like that available from more artists, because I think people get stuck in the rut of like, if you're a painter, you're an artist. If you're a pen and ink artist, that's you're an artist.
Yeah.
If you make t-shirt screens, you're an artist. But like, it's very narrowed to these like few things. And I would love to see like more different types of art. Like I just found people making rug tufting, and I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, what the heck's rug tufting? I'm like, well, look it up on YouTube. And just like different things. 'Cause I think art is so much more than just paint on canvas. I think it's a person expressing themselves or commenting on society or whatever. And then there's more materials and mediums out there than even I could think of. And I would love to see more of that here.
Okay. You have a lot of hope, so I'm going to be very quiet in a lot of these. What is it? I can't remember I'm going to shout out Jimmy. There was one time we were at Suttrie's Landing for one of the illustrators meetup groups, and I just kept ripping into different people. And she was like, "You have the spiciest takes of anyone I've ever met."
It's so spicy. Yeah.
So now it's come every month when we meet up, I'll make a comment. And I'll just look at her and she's like, "Still keeping it spicy." I gotta be honest, man. I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say this in kind of a sarcastic way.
Okay.
That would be nice. It would be great
nice.
if someone who should be doing that is doing that. Not. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Is there anyone you would like to work with other than Blueberry Cumberbund?
Well, if it's not Blueberry Cumberbund, I think there's a ton of people I'd love to work with. You mentioned Jimmy. I think she's fantastic. I love her art too. I'd love to like do some kind of like comic panel with her. That would be a lot of fun. I'm really inspired by. I mentioned Sarah Shabaro. I think you mentioned her Striped Light. I am super inspired by like her work and like the old fashioned like printing presses. I think those are incredible.
Yeah, I had asked her if she was going to bring back workshops, and I ran into her at Pioneer House when Julie was having her big sale. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Are you going to bring back workshops?" She was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I need to post about that," because she and I always talk about marketing.
Oh yeah,
because she always asked me about marketing. I was like, "Yes, you do."
Yeah.
Do you have an email list? She's like, "I do." I was like, "Please use that." Killing me, Sarah. And then she posted it was Risograph. I was like, "Oh, I meant letterpress," because I want to. Because they had a thing with Stripe Light was like after you took 2 classes, you could come in there and do it whenever you wanted.
Yeah.
And Brian was constantly like, "I have some big old wood type that I think you would really enjoy."
Yeah.
And Brian's left, so I think it's just Sarah. But I'm like. So when you take that Risograph class, say, "Hey, how about you do a letterpress?"
Like, hey, guess what? Well, on that note, I went to the Relay Ridge opening, and they have a whole letterpress print shop set up.
That's right. I need to. Ashton was telling me about it. And I need to. I hate to keep interrupting you, but you just keep reminding me of things of like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Ashton was like, so she texted me, "Are you coming? Hey, are you coming?" And I was like, "I've already invited people. We'll bring them." I was like. They're not that kind of people. They're not that kind
not
of
the
people.
right people.
They want to sit around a fire pit and stare at it and not think about anything because they've had a work week. So
fair enough.
I was like, I will try to make it, and I didn't make it. And she's like, if you don't, just tell me, and I'll. Because a lot has changed. She's like, okay. We also should do an illustrators meet up there so I can see the changes.
Yes.
Too.
Oh, it's so cool. And I was talking to Ashton, and she mentioned they have like a sign up sheet for people, and they're going to try to start doing classes there so they can do that. Like if you take so many classes, then you can get like a membership and you can come in and use their equipment, which was really cool.
If I could use them for screen printing instead of building out my own shop in the basement. It would be kind of. I just don't have a washout. I don't have the washout booth type stuff in the basement to do all that.
Yeah,
and I don't want to have to build all that.
Well, I was Googling how to like tape stencils, cut out stencils to your screen, so you wouldn't. Because I didn't. I was like, I have no way of burning screens at my house, so I was like, how do I just tape stencils? Because I've got like a silhouette cutter, so I could just make whatever stencils. Haven't quite got around to that, but.
And don't they have those machines now that are that they cut? They're called like cross cut or
like a Cricut.
Cricut.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Silhouette and Cricut are just two different brands.
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
same thing. Yeah, I've got one of those, and I've used it before to make stencils and like monogram T-shirts and things.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else you'd like to work with? Are there big companies you would like to work with? I mean, I always laugh. Mine are Waffle House and what was the other? Waffle House and Oreo.
Here you go. Ooh, Oreo would be fun.
Hey now.
I'm gonna be very nerdy and say the Strand magazine because they still like produce a magazine series out of Minnesota.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Huh.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
But not the UK. That's
not
surprising.
the UK. There was one because I subscribed to it for a couple of years, and it was out of somewhere in the States.
Huh.
That or the Shaw Combs Museum, like itself.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I don't know. I never really thought about working with people because I think more on like projects, and so I'm like, I want to make stickers. How do I do that? So I just learned how to do it and did it, and now I get to make like brochures and stage banners and t-shirts, and we're working on a new publication. Like, I'm getting to work on all the things that I've wanted to do project wise. So it's hard for me to be like, I want to work with this person.
Okay.
Because that's not really.
This may be an off-air conversation.
Thinking.
I'm going to bug you afterwards on who you all use for your t-shirt printer, because I may want to steer you all in a different direction if you don't use a certain person.
Okay.
And I may.
We'll talk shop afterwards.
I have Shannon's phone number. I'm going to text him. It's like, dude, I want you to use these people because they're amazing and they're doing good work, and we need to help them out. Do you set goals or have checklists or utilize checklists?
I have a running to-do list of like things I want to do. I've just realized this year that I don't have a 5-year plan. So I've been working on that.
So I keep, what I do on mine is I have all these questions, and whenever I ask you a question, I change the color of it so I know that I've covered that. So you just answered my next one. My next one is, do you know what you'd like to do in the next 10 years? So let's go ahead and mark that one out.
No. Okay. Hopefully still have the same job.
Okay.
And still making art are my loose plans. I would like to grow out my personal shop a lot more.
Okay.
Because it's something I'm really passionate about. And when I think about like where do I see myself? What if everything ended tomorrow, what would I want to do to start fresh? And that's what I would want. Is to have my own shop where I'm making my own things and people see it and like it and buy it. Like that would be what I'd want to do. So I think it's really important for me to like lay the foundation of things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I sort of jump ahead when I should. Like, I don't leave myself a foundation. I just sort of jump into something and I'm like, here's the thing. And then I'm like, great, we want 10 of them. I'm like, I just made one. So here's the one thing I made. And I'm like, if you want to sell wholesale, you got to have a back stock of things. And I was like, oh. Yeah. I only have 10 of these stickers.
Okay. So my other homework will be, let's bump the website up to like higher up on your project list.
To number 1 on the list.
Set a date of like by January, end of January.
Yeah.
2023, you'll at least have a temp site.
Yeah.
And this is from the SEO side of saying just to get the SEO starting to work. Oh God. Some company used the term, what was it, SEO juice. And I was like, that's not really a thing. You just invented something and then trademarked it. And they're running ads on Wivik.
Juice? That doesn't even make sense.
And I was like, no, that's not a thing.
I do. My concrete plan for this year is to, I have like 2 more markets I'm in. So it's like get product for those markets, make product for those markets, and then create a newsletter. So those are my 2 like concrete things to do by the end of the year.
So you're collecting email addresses. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get that website up and go. Even if there's anything I can do to help, and also whenever you get it to a good point, if you want me to do some SEO diagnostics on it.
Oh, I would love that.
I'll help you with that. I'm happy to help with that. I've done that for, good Lord, a lot of people.
For everyone.
And what's funny is there was like 1 month where I did it for like 6 different people or businesses.
Wow.
Well, businesses as in like partners who own something.
Yeah.
And it hit me like a year later. I was like, I just gave them a bunch of ideas. I didn't say, because they were never like, we can afford, none of them were for me. They were all smaller.
Yeah.
And like a year later, I texted every single one of them. I was like, have you done any of it? And they're like, no. It's like, I'm going to kill you. I put a lot of work and effort in it. I'm going to smack you around. There's a lot of violence on this. I'm very tired tonight. I didn't sleep well last night. A lot of violence on this. A lot of people getting smacked on this episode. Okay. If you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself.
Oh, boy.
What would you tell the 14-year-old version of yourself? I'm going to add that as a question. I'm still in that from the honeydew.
What was I doing at 14? I think I would tell myself to just... Oh, I know what it is. I would tell myself to not give up on like my passions or the things that I love to do, I would say to like pursue those. Because I remember as a kid liking a lot of things that were weird. Like there was this dragonology book that I remember somebody in my class had it, and I was like, that's super cool. And I remember like going over there to look at it with them, and somebody was like, that's super weird. Why did you do that? And I'm like, because it's dragons. That's cool.
This is pre Game of Thrones, or y'all were too young for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it was before all of that.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things that you just unconsciously don't pursue because it's not cool.
Yeah.
When you're a teenager. So I think I would tell myself to like, love the things that you love unconditionally. Like if you want to do something, go for it. Because I was really nervous. I'm still nervous, but I was really nervous and like shy as a kid. Like I was nervous to start anything or do anything. So I think I would tell myself to go for it more.
Okay. It's a good place to end. Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.